Do you hear that sound out in the distance? It's quite faint, but it's getting a little bit louder. Oh, now it's cascading down. It's the transfer portal. Open up the floodgates and open up your wallets to land a premier player to better your odds of making the college football playoff in 2025. This is my favorite time of the year. It's free agency for college football, and I brought it upon myself here at SEC Unfiltered to start a series breaking down where some of the top transfer portal names could land in the conference. And I figured, let's start off with, for my money, wide receiver 1. It's Eric Singleton out of Georgia Tech. Where does he best fit? How is he going to be properly utilized? And which team could end up cashing in to better their offense? What's going on, SEC Unfiltered? It's Cole Thompson here. Like the video, hit that ring notification, and smash the subscribe button because we're talking transfer portal, we're talking college football, we're talking postseason, we're talking everything about the SEC. This is your number one source. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on the socials, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at SEC Unfiltered. Make sure that you want to follow me at Mr. Cole Thompson, and go ahead and check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. This episode is brought to you by our friends over at RHOBACK. The holiday season is right around the corner, and much like teams going into the portal to grab a wide receiver, why don't you go over to RHOBACK.com and grab a fleece, a pullover, a hoodie, a pair of pants, whatever you see fit, and use the promo code SECU for 20% off your first purchase. The holidays are right around the corner. What better stocking stuffer to give someone in your life than a RHOBACK? Promo code SECU for 20% off your first purchase. Eric Singleton Jr., for me, is like Helen of Troy. Do you guys remember that story where the Trojans and the Spartans fought over a woman just because of Agamemnon, and Paris wanted to go ahead and have... This is a PG show. We're not going to get into that. You understand the reasoning behind it. There are going to be wars fought over Eric Singleton because if he is a gadget player, he can do a little bit of everything. And the one thing he can't do is no wrong. This past season, 56 catches for 754 yards, 3 touchdowns. He averaged 13.5 yards a catch. More importantly, they utilized him in the ground game too. 21 carries, 6.2 yards a run, 1 rushing touchdown, 131 yards on the ground. He is a human highlight reel. And I'll tell you what, if you do not have an Eric Singleton, you want an Eric Singleton. There are going to be teams in the Big Ten going after him. There are going to be teams in the ACC going after him. There are going to be teams in the Big 12 that could open up the checkbooks and say, give us your price. We're willing to pay it. But he does have some offers lined up. He does have some visits lined up. Where are some fits that I really like? One that has not been mentioned, but I do think needs to be on the radar is South Carolina. South Carolina feels like Mizzou of last year, where they're going to close out the year on a promising note with a bold victory over Illinois, and now it's all about finalizing the roster, going into the portal and bettering your defense, going into the portal and tweaking your offensive consistency with your weaponry, building around the Norris sellers however you see fit. And I recently did a video saying that if there was a way to go land Buster Faulkner as your offensive coordinator, maybe this is a package deal. Maybe this is just one where you say, okay, we got the OC. They know how to properly utilize him. Let's throw a little bit of money his way. That way he can be the number one opposite of Nick Harbor and Mazeo Bennett and a consistent weapon in the slot. Plus, we can utilize him in the ground game. Our offense can work better with Singleton as a stud. I think it's got to be on the radar. It absolutely has to at least be in the conversation. Because if you land him with this offense, with the defensive personnel that's going to be built underneath Clayton White, how are you not excited about what he brings to the table? Georgia is going to be a team that actually already has him on the list for a visit. If I am Georgia, I'm doing everything to get this kid here. I have Gunnar Stockton that proved in the SEC championship game that he can be somebody. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to be perfect. I'm not saying that there aren't going to be some lumps along the way, but I do feel like I got a quarterback that I can build around. What's the best way to build around him? By bringing in weapons. We have watched over the last few years as Georgia has been aggressive in the portal, landing talents, whether it be London Humphreys, Ra Thomas, Dominic Lovett. You can throw in Colby Young. They brought in different tight ends. And this feels like a pristine route runner that, depending on who is the offensive play caller next year, would be utilized in such a unique, dynamic way that just get the ball in his hands, create running lanes, and watch him pile drive on forward and blitz off to the races. It's Georgia. It's one of the standards of college football. If you feel like that you're a team that needs to upgrade your passing attack, whatever it is, needs to upgrade your consistency, needs to make some more plays when it comes to your personnel packages on trickery, this is somebody that you want on your roster. And he's in the state. You got to remember, Eric Singleton is also from the state of Georgia, Douglasville. So it's closer to home. It's in the SEC. They have money. They have the resources. This is a state-of-the-art complex that loves to utilize its players and turn them into future NFL Sunday stars. It's got to be on the radar. Auburn, another team that has him listed as a visitor. You got Cam Coleman. You got Malcolm Simmons. You got Perry Thompson. Hugh Freeze is going to probably be the coach that sets the record for a quarterback, whatever the asking price is. Why not guarantee that you give yourself another veteran and just another chess piece? You want him lined up in the backfield? Cool. We got an offensive personnel package that'll work for you. You want him lined up in the slot? Cool. We'll be able to utilize him in the way that we thought we would with Robert Lewis. We'll be able to utilize him in a similar fashion to Keandre Lambert-Smith. We'll let him have a 6-yard out route that turns into a 27-yard gain. For a team like Auburn, I've said this for a while, I feel like 2025 has got to be a year where it's similar to Texas and Miami. Year 1, you establish a culture. Year 2, you build your foundation. Year 3, you go into the portal, you strike, you bring in some human pieces, you bring in some targets, you bring in some upgrades for whatever it is you're missing, defensive line, linebacker, wide receiver, and you target them to be the extra piece. It gets you to 9 wins. It gets you to 10 wins. It gets you into the conversation for a college football playoff berth. That's Auburn this year. They got a significant win over Texas A&M. They are now going to have back-to-back top 10 recruiting classes underneath Hugh Freeze. They got to add in those last few pieces just to elevate the overall personnel. I think that he'd be a really good fit there. Singleton in a Hugh Freeze offense that knows how to throw some trickery up there, has a bit of a let's just go ahead and mess around and find out on any single play. That seems like something that could benefit a guy like Cam Coleman. That feels like something that could benefit a guy like Perry Thompson. Whoever is the starting quarterback is going to benefit too. Ole Miss. Ole Miss 100% has to be on this radar. The Rebels are a proven commodity when it comes to the transfer portal. You and I can both agree that right now it feels like a down year after how much they spent bettering their defensive line, adding in premier weapons, retaining talent like Jackson Dart and Trey Harris and Caden Prieskorn. But the thing that we know is that the transfer portal works for the portal king. Lane Kiffin knows how to get the right players. More importantly, he knows how to better the right players. There is always trajectory growth whenever it comes to a personnel member leaving one program and heading down to Oxford and Hotty Toddy Land. This is a dude that you just give to Charlie Weiss Jr. and Lane Kiffin. I promise you, by the season's end, he's going to be an all-SEC player. They need a number 1 wide receiver. They got Caden Lee coming back in. That's a good start. They're going to be in the portal for a couple of other guys. Barian Brown from Kentucky is going to be mentioned. Dane Key is going to be mentioned. I'll be shocked if Eric Rivers, the FIU transfer, is not on that list. But if you can get Eric Singleton, it feels like this version is the way that you talked about Walter Nolan last year. So when Walter Nolan decided to go into the portal, there was everyone after him. Alabama wanted him, Georgia wanted him, Oregon wanted him, Miami wanted him. Literally name your price, they wanted him. And then he picked Ole Miss. He chose the lifestyle of the Rebels. He chose to be a part of this outlook. How are you not feeling the exact same way about an Eric Singleton? In fact, I think that this would be as similar to what you got with Jackson Dart a few years ago, where you landed a difference maker that will only better your offense. Trey Harris broke out in this system. He was a solid wide receiver for Louisiana Tech. Now, there were talks about him being a Biletnikoff Award winner before he got injured and a first-round draft pick. He's probably going to be a top 50 draft pick. There's proof of concept here. And you get him in the right system with a quarterback, whether that be Austin Simmons, whether that be potentially a transfer, it works. It's always worked. And Lane Kiffin getting his hands on a guy like Singleton, there's just something that feels right about it. One more for you. And this one's a bit of a wild card, but I do feel like that it at least has to be mentioned. Texas A&M. Texas A&M is trying to build a system around Marcel Reed. They're going to bring in a veteran quarterback. Connor Wigman, no problem whatsoever. We appreciate what you've done. We appreciate that you helped us stabilize our team. But number 10 is our future. Or at least he's going to be for the next year. Every move after this is built around him bettering his numbers. Why not get him an Ainias Smith 2.0? So any of you that know Ainias Smith, this was a human highlight reel when it came to the versatility. He was a weapon. They didn't really call him a running back. They didn't call him a wide receiver. They had jet rate sweeps for him. They had run designs for him. At one point, he was lined up at running back. At one point, he was lined up at wide receiver. He was a playmaker in special teams. He did it all. And A&M benefited from it. They had Agent Zero at the forefront. And they made sure they didn't lose him anytime soon. They made sure that he continued to come on back. And he eventually became an all SEC difference maker, and he's in the history books in College Station. So what if Singleton can be the exact same thing? Turning 4-yard slant patterns into 25-yard gains, lining up in the backfield for quick runs that are going to put him inside the end zone for 6 points at the 2-yard line. Why not look at that? I think it's definitely possible. And I know this, A&M has money. A&M, they have a proof of concept. Our defense is going to be the backbone of this team, so long as Mike Elko is running the show. And that was made abundantly clear by the organization when they hired him. They said they want to get back to the R.C. Slocum days. But you still have to have an offense to counteract your defense. A guy like Singleton that could do just a little bit of everything, how are you not excited if you are out in Aggieland? How are you not excited to see the 12th man be hooping and hollering every single time Singleton touches a football? And how are you not excited if you're Marcel Reed and Colin Klein, two guys that know what a rushing offense can look like, adding this player to your staff? They're going to be targeting wide receivers. There's already been rumors and speculation that Micah Hudson, the former 5-star from Texas Tech, is coming on in. The former 4-star and Jonte Cook from Texas is going to be joining the team. If you can land one of them, and Eric Singleton, best of luck to the other 15 squads in the SEC. But let me know in the comment section down below. South Carolina, Ole Miss, Auburn, Georgia, Texas A&M. Which team do you think needs Eric Singleton the most? And more importantly, which team do you think best fits Eric Singleton? Like, rate, review, subscribe. Make sure that you're following us on all the social channels, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at SEC Unfiltered. Follow me at Mr. Cole Thompson, and check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. Until next time, folks, I am Cole Thompson. The transfer portal is just college football's free agency. Peace.